So welcome to this 9th of the 10 movement principles class of this block. And there's been a bit of a developmental progression along them, even though I've said to people that they can drop in at any time. In some ways, this class really shows that there is a developmental progression of complexity and of exploring more of this inner-outer relationship and really addressing the point that the Laban Bartenieff movement system can be explored as a somatic practice, but it's not only a somatic practice in that it has this spatial component, which is activating the connectivity of the body and the relationship of gravity and ground in a way that some of the somatic practices don't necessarily get to or bridge to, in that the somatic practices tend to often explore a very pre-verbal, almost very, developmental stage of being an infant, where you're really into this whole sensing of your body and discovery of your body's capacity in a very quiet, inner way. And then the Laban movement scales are a chance to kind of integrate some of that work with a different kind of complexity and ability. So that's what we're going to do today in a session that I've called Diagonals Forever. It was a workshop title that I still want to give at some point. Last week, we were exploring some of the icosahedral movement scales of being off balance with multiple changing spatial pulls through this pathway called the transversal, which is a form of transverse pathways. And today we'll do less of that, but still a sense of being somehow off our center and of moving from 3 equal spatial pulls to another 3 equal spatial pulls to another 3 equal spatial pulls. So there'll be this ongoing sense of the body's growing and shrinking, which I've been talking about in other weeks. And we get to see in all of this the underlying support of all the Bartenieff fundamental principles in order to be able to do this diagonal scale, which is what one of Laban's propositions for the kinesphere, using the cube rather than the icosahedron. And so we will explore that in a few different ways. Make sure that you've got no spiky, sharp things around you. That's probably the most important piece of information. Okay. So we'll start with some more inner connectivity work, focusing on the cross-lateral connection and the core distal connection, and this kind of both of those being very important. And already paying attention to scale, because once we start doing more standing, moving things, we don't need to be moving in the farthest reaches of the kinesphere the whole time. I'm saying it now to remind myself and then to remind you, so you don't become really sort of like overexerted. So to work with scale, scale as in size, not as in the movement scale. Then we'll explore the dimensional cross of axes, just to visit this thing that I'm talking about, 3 equal spatial pulls, and then we'll find the diagonals, and then we'll play with the cube a little bit, and then we'll move the diagonal scale, which is the sequence of movements in a particular order, but you can do diagonals however you wish, which is why it's not only about doing a scale, it's about then exploring your discovery of those diagonals in your own way, which is how we'll end. Okay, enough talking. If you would like to start sitting, please. And you can take your legs quite wide. Go ahead and shift a little bit from side to side. Stroking up and down the legs a little bit, giving some massage to the muscles. Feeling your sitting bones on the ground, and then closing your eyes to sense how the spine rises from the floor up, away from the floor. And you can keep your hands on your thighs or on the ground a little bit and start to shift from right to left on your sitting bones so that the whole length of your spine tips sideways and then sideways again. So you're kind of in this weight shifting right to left, where the length of the spine stays fairly upright. It's not kind of collapsing or condensing in any way. It's really to feel this Base of support of pelvis, orienting us side to side. And then you can start to add a little tip forward and backwards. And here you might want to use your hands or adjust your legs to sit somehow differently. So a shift forward and backwards. And sensing how far this is, you know, distance of skull traveling behind you, forward a little bit. Hands can be on the floor to support you. And then take some circles. So head is drawing circles on the ceiling, and you can use your hands on the ground to shift very far off your center. A bit like one of those, like a doll with the weight at the bottom. And you can shift to the other direction. Great, and then come back to the center. And then gently open your eyes. And maybe you have them open a little bit during that, it's totally fine. So that was just a warming up of sensing of space, which we'll need later. But for now, let's lie down, coming into the big X. And keeping the legs quite wide and the arms quite wide. Roll the lengths of the legs onto the center of the heels. So you're taking a heel rock in this big X position rather than narrow. And see how that feels. And if it's really uncomfortable, you can take your legs a little closer. But keeping the arms up rather than down, get a different sense of motion through diaphragm. And then taking them into the big X, let's take a diagonal X rock. So from left heel, sending a rock through to the right shoulder. Letting the breath out, maybe with a sigh. And then shifting to the right heel, finding a rock through to the left shoulder blade. So sensing the flow of this connection between the right lower and the left upper. And then switch again to the left lower to the right upper. And noticing where it wants to move today, where it's feeling a little bit less involved. Sometimes you can allow your body to be very passive and see what happens just from that point of initiation. And at other times, if you want to exaggerate where you already feel moving, just to see what it's like, you can do that and then let it go again. Sometimes you can encourage swap sides to the right leading to the left shoulder. Sometimes you can encourage a bit more flow by deliberately joining in with the shoulder blade and then letting it go again and just seeing what happens rather than feeling like you need to wait forever to feel something sequencing through. And then pause. Notice what you notice in your sensation of this activation of these connections through your body. And take 2 minutes of whatever your body is calling for. Maybe you've already done lots of moving today and you just want to lie here for a little bit before we move on. Maybe you feel the need to mobilize, roll around a bit more. We'll do some more work on the floor. But just 2 minutes for yourself. And whatever you feel like you need to feel present to your body, to connect to any areas that you know that you're working on or need to be mindful of in terms of injury or rehabilitation. Checking in with the warmth of your body. Maybe you feel like certain things are quite creaky and need a bit more juice. Maybe there are some particular qualities you want to invite into your movement, whether that's a bit more grounding or a sense of reminding yourself to take some time. You will know what you need, and if you're not sure, play. Okay. Let's meet on our back surfaces. And activating the distal end of the right hand, let's peel the right hand off the ground and the elbow. And then pointing the fingertips towards the left foot. Head is going to come with us. And finding a diagonal sit up towards that corner. And then we'll roll our way back down. And you'll see that I'm using my opposite hand on the ground to delay the journey down. And we can use spatial intent of the opposite pull here, left fingertips leading towards this right side of my kinesphere. And then to come back down again, sure, I'm using a bit of core support, but I'm also using this hand behind me to delay that journey, to feel the unfolding of my spine and my arm. So right fingertips bringing us up. And delaying, reaching with the legs. Left fingertips. So using the pull of space to bring you up, opening your eyes, seeing what you see, wanting to go towards it. Using this motivation of something that you want to go towards. Maybe you're very interested in your curtain, for example. This time we'll take the right hand up, and instead of coming back down, let's skim our way around the horizontal plane. Keep reaching with this hand and then reach the left hand long. So you end up in a twist, in a kind of screw shape form. So my legs are quite, my left leg is very internally rotated and my right is externally rotated. And my right arm is now on my right side. I'm going to thread the arm underneath my waist. So it's already set up so that my left hand can take over, my head can turn, my arm can circle over my head, and then I can re-find the big X. So that was starting from the hand to bring us back. Let's do the other side. Left fingertips getting very interested to bring us up, skimming around this horizontal plane, and then taking this shape down to the ground. Pausing here for a twist. And then left fingertips sliding under my waist. Right hand takes over, opening up through the armpit. And that whole body half rolls back down to the side. So right fingertips leading, spanning around, finding the ground. Right fingertips underneath, left hand opens, finding the ground. Finding some more fluidity in it. Moments of delay, moments of suspension, moments of pause. Using this to feel the cross-lateral connections through your body. And last time, left fingertips lead. Finding this long reach, far reach of the kinesphere, from toes to fingertips. And then we'll go into some X's and O's, core distal connection or radial symmetry. No difference between 6 limbs, all coming towards navel center and away. And you might want to go slower with this. Or you might want to take it a little quicker. And then finding head leading first, coming into a small ball. And then we'll shift our way to sitting. So I'd like us to visit the dimensional cross of axes, and maybe it's better to do this standing. There's something very, 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 very simple about this, because we're attempting to find one dimension and one single pull-in space. So we can start by simply stepping to the side and across ourselves. Feeling the simplicity of side-sidedness, hitting your wall. So you can still do this with all the same breath support, all the same fluidity that you found on the ground. But sensing this single pull of side-sidedness. Okay. And then let's take a step forward, finding a pull forward and backwards. So the sagittal dimension, very simple, pulling forward in space and backwards. Make sure that you try it with both feet, stepping forward and back. And then we can find up, downwards. After we've finished our sagittal, we can go simply up and down. Finding one direction, place high and low. And you can try it with both arms, or just one arm. So these are our 3 dimensions, this side, horizontal, forward, back, sagittal, vertical. Now, if we put those 3 together, let's come back down to sitting, or if you've got a cushion or a ball, you're welcome to sit on something a little softer if you wish. Oh, crikey. So if we put those 3 together, we find the poles of the diagonals. So by finding side-sidedness, up-downness, and forward and backness, we can add them together to find right, forward, high. We're going to start mapping these diagonal pulls. And there's 4 diagonals. And I'm going to use my right arm to do this. It's going to keep passing through my center. So I'm going to find a direction of right, forward, high, which is the right side. It's got forward in it and it's got up in it. And if I do those all at the same time, I find that right, forward, high to left, back, low. And I can even tip off my sitting bones and find left, back, low. And I can take my head with me. So I could just do my arm, but I'm going to take hold of my spine as we did before. And you can even find it with a sense of growing, inhaling, shrinking, retreating, and closing, all of that stuff again. Let's do the other side. So left forward high with the left hand leading. A central pathway through my core to the right back low. Now, as I take this right back low, I'm really twisting into it. You can see that I stop being able to see you, but I'm trying to keep my pelvis facing forward. So even though I'm shifting backwards, I'm not turning into it, because then I would be showing the sagittal dimension. This is where it starts to get a bit tricky. I'm going right back low, trying to keep facing forward. So this is one of our 4 diagonals. You might want to close your eyes, visualize this long diagonal that you're working your whole movement through, revealing. Okay, and if you open your eyes, let's do the next one. So right side leading, let's go left forward high. So I'm going far to the left, as far forward, as far up as I can go. So left forward high and right back low. The same diagonal that we were just moving, but now with my right side leading, I'm more enclosed in the front and more spread in the back. And again, I'm shifting off my sitting bones, feeling all this core activity, showing the progression of this diagonal with my whole movement, skull and everything. Okay, let's do the other side. So left side leading towards the right forward high pull. And then finding this long journey to left back low. Right forward high, rising, spreading and closing, sinking, retreating, spreading. A couple more of those. Hopefully you can visualize this diagonal. And you can find this shifting off your center. Lovely. Okay. So those are the 2 diagonals that are high in the front and low in the back. And then we have 2 more that are the other way around. So let's start again with the right side leading to the left back high corner. So I've got as far sideways to go as I've got backwards to go, and I've got high to go. So I'm going to try and find left back high, traveling along this diagonal to right forward low. And back up again. So again, using my hand on the floor, adjusting my legs to make it comfortable, allowing this diagonal to move through me, reveal it. So right forward low, traveling through to left back high. And then let's switch sides with the left hand leading, right back high to left forward low. So I'm finding this back space that's quite high and behind. Shifting on to my right sitting bone to make that possible. Okay. Take a little shake. We've got 1 more to do. And again, sit however is comfortable. You can adjust your legs at any time. I'm sitting cross-legged, but you could easily sit knees up like this, or legs long. Okay, last diagonal. Again, starts in the back high zone. Let's go right back high to to left, forward, low. So traveling as far back and side and high as I can. To left, forward, low. So you see my arm is folding closer to my core as I take the central pathway with my arm. I'm keeping my hand quite close to me, and eventually it might get further away, but it doesn't have to keep showing that diagonal. So establishing this pull of space. And then let's do the left side leading. So we're going left, back, high. Oh yeah, there we go. Left, back, high. Right, forward, low. Left, back, high. Right, forward, low. Rising, spreading, retreating, closing, sinking, advancing. Good. So allowing, when you take the journey of the arm, allowing the elbow to bend, tracing this pathway through your body center along that journey. So it's not happening sort of in front of you, it's happening kind of through you. There we go. So we've done the 4 diagonals. Let's do them without the arms. So taking your head right forward high to left back low. Do that one again. Right forward high, left back low. So you know where you're going in space. And you don't even need to point it out with your hands. Come back to the center, and then let's go left forward high and right back low. Left forward high and right back low. Back to the center, then let's go right back high, left forward low, and back to right back high. So we're going up and down the diagonal, so to speak. And back to the center, and then let's go left back high, and right forward low. And then come back to the center when you've finished that last riding of that diagonal. So the 4 diagonals, when they intersect, they make the supporting structure of the cube. So we've found these 8 directions around ourselves in our kinesphere. You can point them out: right forward high, right, left forward high, right forward low, left forward low, right back high, right back low, right, left back high, left back low. So you can point these corners of the cubes out for yourself, and sitting or standing, recuperation from the diagonals for a moment, trace the cube. So with your fingertips, or with your elbows, or with different body parts, trace the edges of the cube. I mean, obviously the cube can be different sizes. It could be a very tiny little cube. But in your mind's eye, visualize this cube with its edges, but also with its surfaces. So you might feel like a really bad mime. But this visualization of the geometry that you can trace, or you can make these pathways with your shoulder, or if you wanted to stand and explore it with your feet a little bit. You've got these possible surfaces of the cube that you can explore. tracing these different pathways, these different edges. With your fingers, with your toes. And just notice how different it feels to do this compared to the diagonals. Okay. Shake off. I'm going to lead you through the diagonal scale. So it's a particular sequence of these diagonals. There's 4 of them, eight directions that we'll visit. And most of the pathways are central pathways through the core, which is what we did when we were sitting on the floor. Lying on the floor, we did this hand peeling off central pathway to get us up off the floor. And then we also did some peripheral pathways. And that's the combination of what we're doing in the diagonal scale. And we'll do it a few times, and I'll turn my back so you can see it from behind also. And use this opportunity to sense the diagonals, practice visualizing the cube, seeing how it is to keep finding this progression of right side to left side, front zone to back zone, high to low, feeling all of those changes. It's really not about doing it perfectly or getting it right. The diagonal scale is another kind of resource to play with rather than feel like we need to perfect. And the way that I'm teaching it is one way out of multiple. So again, it's the thing that we can see what we get from it rather than have to perfect it. That would be really weird. Okay, I'm going to do it facing you. Hopefully that's not too awkward. We'll do the whole thing with the right side leading. So it's very body half, but then it can feel much more cross-lateral in certain moments. Bear that in mind. Let's start where we started before. Right forward high. Central pathway to left back low. Stay on the left side of your kinesphere. We're going to find the surface, the side of a cube. Peripheral pathway. Step across yourself to find left forward high. To right back low. Let's do that again. Right forward high. Left back low. Stay on the left side to find left forward high. To right back low. Great. So this moment when you come left back low, if you've stepped behind yourself to get more backwards, the backward pull of this diagonal, you're just going to have to step in front of yourself to go forward. And then opening the leg, finding right back low. Let's do that with the left side leading. So the same pattern, but with the left side leading, we'll start left forward high. So left forward high to right back low. Staying on the right side of the kinesphere to find right forward high and left back low. So I'm using my arm, my other arm as a kind of counter pull in space. It's not totally asleep and it might look a little bit too kind of formed and sort of shaped, but it's trying to pull in the opposite direction. So left forward high. I've got this pull to the right back low where I'm going to go. To right back low, running out of space. Right forward high, and left back low. Okay, I'm going to do it with my back to you, which might be maybe more useful. Right side leading, let's go. Right forward high, left back low. Left forward high and right back low. The second side with the left side leading. Left forward high, rising, spreading, advancing, retreating, sinking and closing. And then left, right forward high. And then left back low. Okay, good. So that's pretty much half the scale. We've just got the other two diagonals to do. We've got right forward high, left back low, left forward high, right back low. So now we stay in the back zone of the kinesphere, and we're taking an arm circle to trace the back surface of the cube to find left back high. And then we're going to go down the diagonal to right forward low. So all of that again. We were in right back low, and I'm staying back and I'm staying low. No, I'm staying back, but I have to change sides and get high. So I'm going to find an arm circle to find left back high, and then down the diagonal to find right forward low. Let's do that on the second side. So I found left back low, so I've just found this diagonal. And I'm going to stay on the back of the cube and find an arm circle across myself to find right back high. And then traveling along the diagonal to left forward low. So that's that diagonal. Okay, let's add that third diagonal in to the sequence or the scale. Right side leading, right forward high, left back low. We're going left forward high and right back low. Staying back to go left back high, right forward low. Second side, left side leading. Lots of breath support, lots of lovely fluid weight shifts. If you feel like it's getting very points in space and a panic, chill out. See how it feels to just kind of move it through. Left forward high, right back low. Staying on the right side to go right forward high, to go left back low. Staying on the back of the cube to go left back high, right back high, and left forward low. Let's do that left side again. Left forward high, right back low. Right forward high, left back low. Right back high, left forward low. Give it a little shake. So this moment when you're in the back zone of the kinesphere, arms circling, and you can step behind yourself, make sure that you keep your limbs quite close to your core, and you can't take them very far away. But especially in this arm circle, you can easily go into a strange arch and feel a bit unsupported through the core. So how is it to keep grounding through the feet as you take that shift across? Let's add the last diagonal on. So we entered on the right side, right forward low. We've got one more diagonal to find. We stay on the right side of the kinesphere, but this time from low forward, we're going back high. So right high to left forward low. So we've just gone left back high, right forward low, staying low, so staying right to go back. Forward low. So the second side, we've just come right back high, left forward low, left back high, right forward low. Let's do those two again. So let's do the last two diagonals of the second part. So we've come left back high, right forward low, right back high, left forward low. And the second side, you've gone right forward high, right back high, left forward forward, low. Take a shake. Well done. If you're not used to learning sequences, this could feel a bit bizarre or a bit arbitrary, but hopefully you can start to feel that we're visiting all the diagonals. And so that means we're getting to experience the different spatial calls and the different kinds of familiarities, unfamiliarities in our kinesphere. There might be diagonals or directions that you really like. Start to notice that, start to kind of recognize what you find easier or harder or more satisfying or more challenging in these diagonals. That's what it's kind of there for. For me anyway, I like to kind of use them as a diagnostic almost. Okay, whole thing, right side leading. I'm going to do it facing you, then I'm going to turn around and do it on the right side again, and then I'll do it on the left side. This is almost the last time we'll do it, so again, if you're feeling like you're just still tasting it and getting used to it, no problem. See if you can just keep moving, don't get stuck anywhere. Inhaling and exhaling, let's go. Right forward, high. Left back, low. Keep it about the spine. Left forward, high. Right back, low. Left back, high. Right forward, low. Right back, high. Left forward, low. Again. Right forward, high. Left forward, high. Right back, low. Left back, high. Right forward, low. Right back, high. Left forward. Okay, left side leading. Same again, 2 times around, once I'll face you and once I'll turn my back. So I'm noticing already that I'm doing quite a lot of bracing in my lower back, which is reminding me that I need to use my core more and my heel sitting bone connection every time I'm shifting weight, that I'm really making sure that I'm grounding in my lower in order to mobilize in my upper. So let's go. Left forward, high. Right back, low. Left, right forward, high. Left back, low. Right back, high. Left forward, low. Left back, high. Right forward, low. Left side. Left forward, high. Right back, low. Left, right forward, high. Left back, low. Right back, high. Left forward, low. Left back, high. Right forward, low. Wow. Okay, good, shake. Well done. So hopefully, having done it a few times in this whistle-stop tour of diagonals, you discovered 1 or 2 diagonals that you're more interested in. And that might be them like with the open or the closed, doesn't matter to me. I would like you to pick 2 diagonals that you are going to stay with and play with and explore, and we'll use those as the template to then transpose it into different kinds of experiences. So, a couple of minutes on your own. You can start sitting if you like, I like that one. That one was nice. And I like that one. And you'll be like, yeah, done, 2. Just choose 2 and figure out how you're going to get from one to the next and how you're going to start again. So it becomes a short phrase. And you don't have to do just like one thing of it. It could repeat a few times. You could really show that diagonal before you change to your second diagonal. So the change from one diagonal to another diagonal, you could take a peripheral pathway, you could take another central pathway. You just need to make some choices about how you make your transition and where it starts. Once you've been doing your second diagonal for a little while, you need to find a way to get back to your first diagonal. So it's up to you what end of the diagonal you travel from, or whether you come back through the center and then start again. You might take a peripheral pathway to another corner. Make a choice that makes sense for your interests, movement. You might want to surprise yourself. Take one more minute to consolidate this phrase. Two diagonals joined together so you can move from one to the next, and then start your sequence again. And when you've got it, take a little shake. And now do it again. And this time, pay attention to the breath support in this diagonal scale. So when you're taking each pull, really consciously using your breath support. That might be inhaling to rise, it might be exhaling to rise, doesn't matter what the breathing is, but you start to make some choices or discoveries about what you can do. Super. Take this diagonal scale to sitting. And again, if you want to sit on something soft, you're very welcome to do that. And so how does your diagonal, your version of this scale, transpose to sitting? And play around with that. So you might have your hands on the floor more, or you might do something more elaborate with your legs. You might even add some level change. How is it, even without the arms, to do this sequence that you made that's still very clear in its directions, but doesn't necessarily need to be led through the arms? Great, take a little pause when you get back to the beginning. Now, I have a whole list of possible variations that you might want to do for this phrase, because making phrases in this way becomes the kind of template to then keep modifying. And I'm going to name a few of them, and if you want to pick one, great. If none of them resonate with you, give yourself your own instruction. But on my list is, use this phrase to make it a preparation for a very energetic day. Another one would be, use this phrase to recuperate from a very long day. Another one, make a very silly version of this phrase. Make a very fluid version of this phrase. Or make a very grounded version of this phrase. So whichever one of those takes your fancy, or another instruction you'd like to give yourself, use that intention for the sequence that you just made. And you can stand, you could sit, you could lie, up to you. Go. And when you get back to the beginning, you can take a pause, or you can go into heel rock or something else. Okay, so when you come to the end of your phrase, recuperate from all these diagonals, however you would like. That could be some free movements in the space, could be some lying in stillness, could be some heel rocking, could be some returning to this phrase, seeing how this feels now. So in your own way, recuperating from diagonals. Sensing your body. And wherever you are, giving yourself one more minute to recuperate. All those diagonals are very much activating the cross-lateral connections through the body, working into quite far reach space. Visiting different zones or areas of kinesphere. some that maybe are not so familiar. How do you sense your connectivity? Really slowly pushing yourself to one side. Slowly bringing yourself back to the computer. And let's have a little check-in and a chat.